Begosh and Begorra, welcome to the March 16th, 17th edition of the show with no name. I'm Bob Going with Jim Nikosha and Gavin Murdoch on our brand new set here at the Go Where I've Been Coffee House and Polish Deli on Lower Upper Church Street in Amsterdam, New York. Those of you who were here for the last show, it was a great show. Unfortunately, I forgot to turn the camera on and only had 7 seconds of it. So. Actually, that wasn't even of the show.
That's what was so great about it.
That was just before the show and after. Oh, but trust me, it was terrific. And there's our lovely host, Sue Blazewski, who feeds Gavin before she feeds me all the time, even though we came in at the same time. As a matter of fact, I answered somewhat before he did. But
yeah, but
anyway.
His is a pre-order. He called in.
Oh, he called in the order.
He called in the order.
Okay. Well, it's obviously very busy here at the Go Where I've Been Coffee House and Polish Deli this morning, if you can tell from the background noise.
It must be all Irish people are here now because
all the Irish people are here. I've got my
noise. I see that.
Wow.
Tell them to go sit in the back. Sit in the back. Go in the back room, guys.
That is the back room. The whole place is gone. Oh, look, she painted the back wall. Did you see that?
I just remember her name.
Look at that. It's nice. I turned the camera on to show you. It's beautiful. Maybe we'll do it at the end of the show. That looks terrific. Wow. Oh, I like.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You gotta spice things up once in a while.
Very good. Well, wow, we filled the full 2 hours of that last show without any problems.
Without any problems, it didn't come out.
Didn't come out, but it was great. So we can rerun any of that stuff we want. That one was
what it was all about.
Oh, that was 2 weeks ago. So actually, we've been off this 3 weeks really because we were off 2 weeks in between.
Yeah.
Because of that, because I had to take last week off to go to a funeral. But
that last show was all about world history, wasn't it?
Oh, it was great. We had,
it's very educational for the listeners.
Yeah.
Every time the historian is on, it's a good show. There's no question about it. He can talk about anything, just about.
There's a lot.
We've noticed that.
Wow. Let's see. That kind of things. Okay. This is one of those emails that's been floating around, but it's very interesting. It's called Isn't It Ironic? It says, the food stamp program, part of the Department of Agriculture, is pleased to be distributing the greatest amount of food stamps ever. Right?
Okay.
Meanwhile, the Park Service, also part of the Department of Agriculture, asks us to, quote, please do not feed the animals, unquote, because the animals may grow dependent and not learn to take care of themselves.
Well, that's very true.
Thank you.
I was going to say that's very true, but it also takes care of the human element also. They get used to being fed and they forget how to forage for themselves.
Yeah.
I.e. getting a job.
Why aren't the part of the Department of the Interior?
I think it really does. I think this is just a baloney email.
Oh.
It's all part of the federal government, though. I'm just reading it the way it came to me. Yeah. But, yeah, it's true. It is part of the Department of... I'm sure the Park Service is part of the Department of Interior. It has to be. Right?
Yeah, I think it is.
Who's the Secretary of Interior?
Have no idea.
There you go.
Have you no idea?
This is a tough cabinet to name, isn't it?
It is, because now aren't they one step lower than the various czars that have been created to oversee programs?
Yeah, I guess. Maybe that's because we got so many czars. But can you name the czars? I can't name the czars.
Alexander III.
Let's see. We got
Terrible.
Catherine the Great.
Catherine the Great.
This is provolone cheese over eggs. I usually have it over eggs and maple sausage. And I used to have it on the roll from the White Eagle Bakery, which is terrific. But can't have the gluten. And it's Friday in Lent, so I can't have the sausage.
Excellent. No, you don't do hot tea.
Anyway, anybody got anything they want to talk about?
Nothing earth-shattering except last week. What day was it? There's a letter to the editor. One of the supervisors very upset with the questions he's been being asked, or the questions being asked of the supervisors about the health insurance trust.
They don't like to be asked questions?
He doesn't like to be asked questions. There's a veiled threat in there, and I don't know how veiled it was, that he will have a lawsuit against these people asking the questions.
What nonsense?
On what?
Based upon, he says that everything they're saying is not true, and they're
wait a minute, if they're asking questions, excuse me,
that's his take, that they're accusing him of wrongdoing
by asking the question.
by asking the questions.
Like what kind of questions was he being asked? Like who paid for his who paid for his vacation?
Well, no, not that one. The questions of, he signed papers that he wasn't authorized to sign, and it's so convoluted. It's very tough to understand the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I will say it does appear that the new supervisor from the 5th Ward has been taking an active part in these proceedings.
Yes, very definitely.
Very hard to find at home.
Yeah, and I think they're going to find a very different outcome at the supervisors' meetings, because he doesn't care.
If he gets reelected.
Yes, he doesn't care if he gets reelected. He just wants to make sure everything that he puts an okay to is on the up and up for the taxpayers.
Now he's auditing the bills, asking questions about everything.
Yeah.
Why? Why does
I think he's there more than the town clerk.
Oh yeah. Well, he's there every day. Obviously, I was 6 times I went over to his house trying to find him, and he was never there anymore. And he used to be a hermit. He'd be there all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
He's in Fonda every day. Today, I asked him to come on the show. I think he's got the health trust meeting today.
Oh, is there? I didn't know that.
I think so. I think that's what he said.
Well, he'll get some answers there, and I hope they're in the paper tomorrow.
But it is interesting that he finds time to go on Swap Shop every Saturday, and yet fails to appear on his own show.
He was only there a half a day, Swap Shop. He went to the meeting with Amador, with the community,
The open forum he had.
the open forum, where 10 people showed up because
nobody knew it was on.
Nobody knew it was going to be there.
Yeah, it was bad advance work.
Very bad.
Yeah.
Very bad.
Yeah. So.
I'm sure the assemblyman wasn't happy with his staff about that.
Well, maybe he was, because then there weren't that many pointed questions. Nobody
Well,
could put him on the spot, right?
since we last met, it appears that the lines are pretty much drawn for the Senate, Assembly, and congressional districts.
Yes, according to the paper. I think there was only how'd they put it? This midnight meeting. That it was
It's always midnight. That's when they always meet.
yeah. It was because there was imperative that this thing get done, taken care of right away, so they could have.
Well, yeah. I mean, the primaries are coming up in June for the congressional seats and the Senate seats.
Evidently, they waited to the last minute.
I mean, all of a sudden, they
could have a secret meeting.
The major parties are endorsing for the U.S. Senate races this weekend, I guess. The Republicans on Saturday and the Conservatives on Monday, and I guess the Democrats know who their candidate is. It's Gillibrand. I guess they're meeting too. But all of this has stuff that ordinarily would have taken place in late summer is
Pushed up.
It's been pushed up, and it had to be done right away, so they did it in a midnight meeting.
Now, the Recorder had an interesting editorial a couple days ago, maybe yesterday, I forget, about the redistricting and how Montgomery County seems to be kind of neglected and forgotten and on the edge of everything here.
Yeah, I saw that.
The new state Senate district, which I believe includes all of Montgomery County, we're the tail end of it, and it stretches down
Down to
through the Catskills into Kingston. So you know, if Amador is a candidate, which I assume he will be for that seat, at least he has Amsterdam roots and has represented the area in the assembly, so that might not be too bad. The congressional district, I guess we're divided in half or something like that with. Oh, it's not. Yeah, you know, originally, I think the original plan, we were going to be in Owens District, which is the one that goes up to St. Lawrence County. And now, from the Recorder editorial, it looks like the western half of the county is going to be like in another one of those sweep through the Catskill districts, where we're really at the far end of nowhere.
You know, and that makes it difficult for the representative because he's got an hour and a half to 2 hour drive from one end to the other.
Oh, more than that probably for that district. You know. Well, look at Farley's Senate district. He's now going to have northern Herkimer County. I mean, you can't even get there from here.
And doesn't he have was Schoharie included?
I'm not sure.
I forgot.
I don't think so. No, I think maybe. I don't think so. No, because that's going into the Amador district.
They say the devil's in the details, and there's a lot of detail in that. And it just, you know, I think it just emphasizes or underscores the importance that people give to our part of the state.
Yeah.
None at all. Okay?
That's right.
Whether it's the state government, whether it's through education, when you look at what transpires there, you know, we're on the fringes.
Yeah.
You know, we're the appendix that they would just as soon clip and get rid of.
And I think that's true. And if you've got to pick a place where they're going to do that, this is the place with the high unemployment, the people leaving. I mean, it's just.
Well, the statistics for Fulton County and Montgomery County are pretty dismal.
Yeah, they are.
The one thing about this part of the country, though, is Schoharie got a good shot in the arm with their students winning that $100,000.
And there's still people down there waiting to get any assistance because as a result of the flood.
Yeah.
You know,
they're still planning to plan.
Yeah. Yeah, those trailers are still sitting down there in Columbus.
I know. I went by there last week, and it looks like there's just as many trailers next to that building as there was 3 months ago.
Yeah, and you know, I'm 100% for the rehabbing of Guy Park Manor. But I will say that project seems for an empty, you know, they're rehabbing an empty building a hell of a lot faster than they're taking care of the people who don't have homes down in Schoharie County.
Yep. There's still people down there that have the Winnebago parked outside their home, living out of the Winnebago and plugging the electricity in, and they're still not in their homes. They're down there every week, and the progress of some of these places is sad.
It is.
You know, when they say FEMA emergency federal management,
there's no
it doesn't
emergency.
exist.
No,
It's
to them, there's
a
no
shell.
Yeah, to them, there's no emergency.
You know, there's no expediency to take care of these folks. And I guess if there's any solace to be taken, the fact that we were lucky this winter, we didn't have a horrible winter.
Yes.
Because we're that much worse on the folks down there.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Boy, oh boy, you know, it's coming up pretty quickly. It's 25 years since the Thruway Bridge went down. I can't believe that. Can't believe that.
Yeah.
It'll be 25 years.
On Facebook, people have the bridge going down.
Yeah. And I linked to the ones I put up 5 years ago. I can't believe that's already 5 years ago since I put those up. Yeah. Walt Martin was very busy. He was working for Altieri at the time, and so I got some pictures of him hauling some of the cars out. That was so horrible. From just the thought of it was horrible.
Yeah.
I knew the last guy who made it over the bridge. It was Pete Persico, was the state policeman. He was in his state trooper car on the doing thruway patrol, and he got over the bridge, and it collapsed behind him. Yeah,
Wasn't his time.
and also, I used to have breakfast with a guy who stopped the traffic. He was out for a walk on the 400 Road Bridge. Saw the thruway bridge go down, and then he turns around, and on the other side are these cars barreling down at 65 miles or 75 miles an hour, probably heading toward the hole. And he just got up there and went like this, and thank God they stopped. They stopped, and then that tractor trailer put his rig right across the road, so nobody else would do it. Just amazing. I remember, I'm trying to think now. They said, no, I wasn't in. I was on the bench by that time. I remember talking to Guy Tomlinson about it at the time. He says, if this had happened at night, those cars would have piled up until the headlights of the 75th car were heading in your direction.
Yep. They'd have driven over the top of the other cars.
They never seen. They would never have seen it.
Right.
And then
I
trying to think of his name. Rudy Sluzniak's son was up there when the second half fell down and took the video that CNN ended up using for like 10 years after that. Yeah.
I just can't imagine him driving off.
Rudy, did I say Rudy
It's not
Sluzniak?
there. And just dropping.
Yeah. I mean, one of those cars that Walt took out. I mean, it was just crushed.
Just flattened right
Yeah,
out.
I mean, just flattened.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one victim where the face was left on the dashboard and the skull went somewhere else. I mean, popped out like a grape. That's how bad it was.
Tragic.
Wow.
Hopefully they've learned something and they'll take care of the erosion around the other bridges.
Yeah, I wonder if 25 years later, I know for about 5 years they learned the lesson, but I wonder if they still have.
I don't know, was it last year?
And it turned out that was, they didn't use the right riprap when they built it. Somebody cut corners and all that stuff. Did anybody ever go to jail over it or get sued or anything?
Well, last year, the year before, they had the bridge, the elevated road down in Albany where the one section dropped, 6 inches from the other one?
Wow.
Yeah, the one down.
One of
Cuts
those.
over towards the egg off the intersection.
Wow.
There. Yeah. No, it's just these are architectural marvels when they're built, but are they built well enough to survive life in the Great Northeast?
That's the
You
problem.
get that freeze and thaw, and it takes its toll on the metal in the highway.
But I saw. I mean, how many times have we rebuilt the river bridge since it went up in 1973?
Yeah.
At least 3 times, I think.
Yeah, they're always over there repairing it.
Because the salt gets in and undermines the rebar, and
The part of the original one is still there, though.
yeah, right. Yeah.
No?
That's right. But I was watching a show one time, and they have engineers have developed bridges that are expensive, but will last 200 years.
Yeah, but nobody will build them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because of the initial costs. Yeah. But the methods are there. I guess they got shock absorbers built into them and all kinds of stuff, and ways to seal the rebar. That's the part that doesn't. Why can't you coat the rebar in plastic? I don't or whatever. It seems to me you ought to be able to seal it better than they.
Well, that one that went down in the Midwest.
Minneapolis?
Indianapolis, yeah.
Well, that one, the new one is being monitored by
Laser beams and
seismograph machines and everything else. Anything that goes on is being recorded.
So when it falls the next time, they'll have a record of how it happened. Yeah. Well, this. When I was in Ireland, of course, they don't have the salt over there. They have no need for salt. If they get snow, it lasts. They'll get maybe an inch or two, and it'll last a day or so. But I crossed the Shannon River at Killaloe, going from County Tipperary to County Clare, I believe.
It's got to be a song or something.
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Beautiful. And it's a long stone bridge over the Shannon. And there's buses on it, and I was on it, and all kinds of cars going over. And I find out later that bridge is like 1,000 years old.
They were constructed.
Good builders.
It was constructed. It was constructed for horses and buggies, not even buggies, but probably horses and chariots or whatever. And it's lasted maybe 800,000 years, something like that. I think from the time of King John. It wasn't Roman, but it was. It was just amazing, and they use it every day, and it's over a freaking river.
I guess in Europe,
a big river near the mouth.
Many bridges like that in Europe. But some bridges.
What about the things down in Albany that were passed at midnight?
Well, I just kind of read that quickly this morning. Usually when those things pass at midnight, they've already been worked out in advance. But
That's the hope.
the legislature never did any work during normal hours. I worked down there one year.
This wasn't worked out in advance because the Democrats walked out.
Well, they walked out, but that was probably worked out in advance too. The walkout was probably so they can play both sides. Get what the governor wants and pretend they're doing something else.
Yeah, they're
But I don't know, what were they upset about? I didn't see anything particularly. I mean, there was some amendment to the pension system. I assume that won't affect you or I.
The gerrymandering. It was the gerrymandering that they weren't happy with the districts.
Oh, with the district thing?
lines. Yeah.
Oh, well, hey.
But the last one was done in their favor, probably.
Well, no, I mean, traditionally, when they have split houses, the Assembly gets to draw their lines, the Senate gets to draw their lines, a majority in each, and they split the difference on the congressional districts.
I didn't read
and I think they all things considered, the districts they drew make some sense. Now, you may say it's kind of cynical. They add the district to the Senate, but there's a reason for that, and that is that up until the Court of Appeals decided a couple years ago that the lieutenant governor can break a tie on the organization of the Senate, they assumed that there was no problem there. But now that they've set it up so that there will be a majority because there's an odd number. There was an even number before that. So it really doesn't matter, but which party is in charge. It really doesn't matter which party is in charge, if you want my opinion. But well, because both parties tend to moderate their positions when they're in power. You can take all or nothing positions when you're in the minority, because it's never going to pass.
That's right.
The thing that I was laughing about all week long is the unions started putting ads on the radio how bad
the governor is.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, a week later. It was more than a week later. All of a sudden, the governor's got ad in there to say how great it is. So
right.
Yeah, one against it and one for.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you can see that in the ads that they were running regarding the pension.
Yeah.
And how
that's what I'm talking
inaccurate
about.
those ads were, because it was absolutely zero to affect the people currently employed in our retirement system.
Right.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of what's going to happen to the people down the line, so that the government doesn't go bankrupt paying all these.
Yeah, and I didn't see anything wildly, particularly controversial in what they did. Now, did they pass? They didn't pass the budget too, did they?
Oh, yeah, yep.
No, I don't believe so.
No.
But it sounds like they're gonna.
They're gonna. Yeah. That's right. And the thing about the big change, how it can be funded, but it isn't affected right now. They've adjusted the retirement age, and they're from 62 to 63.
Yeah, 1 year.
Okay, and they looked at how long vesting was going to be. I think it went from 10 to 12 years.
Oh, did it? I didn't see that.
Well, it was 5. They dropped it down to
down
5 a few
but now
years
they want
ago.
they wanted to move it back up. But
Yeah.
it's nothing that is monumental for the people as recipients, but it is monumental to the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Into
Well, what happened was back when the dot-com boom was going on, the pension system got so flush that they were able to eliminate the local contributions and cut back on the individual contributions. So that was all a bonus. I mean, when I got my job, it was under these circumstances, and all of a sudden they made them substantially better for me. I stopped paying after 10 years.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah, for example, and the cities got like $1 million break. Well, all of a sudden the pot held by the comptroller dropped, and so they had to start charging the municipalities again, and they all screamed.
But it didn't drop significantly, though.
Oh yeah, no, it dropped like in half.
Yeah, but,
Oh, yeah.
They still said that they had X number of years of
Oh,
of
sure,
money
sure.
there.
Oh, yeah,
But
absolutely.
they didn't have to.
Yeah, we're not taking, I try to explain this to people. This is not like the Social Security system where you take current tax dollars to pay current recipients. We actually have lots of money in our state pension system that is invested in the stock market primarily.
Yes.
hopefully wisely.
Yeah, but there's only one trustee, the state comptroller.
Yeah. And they were talking about the increase that they were paying out for the services for those doing the investing for us. They were double and triple.
Right, right.
And they were arguing, well, it's not a big, it is. At this point in time, every dollar is important.
That's right.
You have to watch your pennies to have your dollars.
So I think this solution probably puts the pension system back under control, so that they're not,
I think the big
the
controversy.
long term it'll.
I think the biggest controversy is the people coming in that would have to make a choice with the 401k. They're not really happy with the 401k because that's up and down. You can lose your money in the 401k.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
But with the state pension, you don't lose anything because
Because it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
A lot of states don't have the guaranteed payment.
Right.
So, yeah, you get more people into 401ks. Chances are they're going to do better under them. But at any given time, you can't tell.
They're using the one in South America that has a pension system that's involved in their savings, like the 401k, and I think it's been in effect 13 or 14 years. When it first started, everybody was in a panic that everybody was going to go broke, but now they're finding out everybody was making a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, some of these systems, 401ks, are returning like 20% a year. So as opposed to your savings account, which is like 0.03 at this point.
0.01.
Something like that. Boy, oh boy.
Better under your mattress.
Yeah.
As long as you don't create any lumps by it, you still sleep.
Did you see our president audacity yesterday? I think it was yesterday, to attack one of the great icons of the Republican Party, Rutherford B. Hayes.
I saw that on.
I was shocked.
I didn't see that.
Check Facebook.
Let's see, this is dated yesterday. Earlier today, President Obama, this is by Brian Bolduc. Brian Bolduc at the National Review Online. Earlier today, President Obama, in an attempt at historical analysis, compared the GOP's skepticism toward alternative energy to President Rutherford B. Hayes' supposed reaction to the telephone. Quote, "It's a great invention, but who would ever want to use one?" Unquote. That's why he's not on Mount Rushmore, Obama concluded. He's explaining why we can't do something instead of why we can do something. And this is why Obama's not a historian. Talking Points memo reports as follows. Nan Card, curator of manuscripts at the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Center in Ohio, told Talking Points memo that the nation's 19th president was being unfairly tagged as a Luddite. He really was the opposite, she said. He had the first telephone in the White House. He also had the first typewriter in the White House. Thomas Edison came to the White House as well and displayed the phonograph. Photographing people who came to the White House and visited at dinners and receptions was also very important to him. While often cited, Card said Obama's cited quote has never been confirmed by contemporary sources and is likely apocryphal. A contemporary newspaper account of his first experience with a telephone in 1877 from the Providence Journal records a smiling Hayes repeatedly responding to the voice on the other line with the phrase, "That is wonderful." But the president could learn from his Republican predecessor. In his inaugural address, Hayes famously said, "He serves his party best, he serves the country best."
So Obama's 0 for 2 then, huh?
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Now, and to call the Republicans flat earthers for not buying into his Cylindra and his light force or whatever it was, force light square or whatever it's called. All these businesses owned by his contributors who have received billions of dollars in taxpayer money and are all going bankrupt. Pretty audacious. That's all I can say. Meanwhile, he takes credit for all the drilling that's going on in this country on private land when he's banned all the federal lands from any further drilling. Not to mention how he tied up the Gulf of Mexico for a year.
I heard his.
Thank you.
I heard his statement that everything is happening in his administration. 8% raise in drilling and 5%. Every time you turn around, he's banning drilling from somewheres.
Right. We don't get the pipeline. We don't get the ANWR. We don't get the you name it. He stopped it. Anything that looks like it might be a potential. Now of course they're trying to. Now that we're getting this tremendous influx of natural gas from the hydrofracking, they're trying to ban. Well, let's have some national standards on that so we can ban that too. Yeah.
I saw in today's paper. I didn't read the whole article. That somebody is going to start drilling in Pennsylvania, I think.
Oh, they've been drilling in Pennsylvania.
A new
site.
A new oil one?
I don't know if it's drilling or a refinery in Pennsylvania.
Well, I was talking to a guy recently, very recently, who had just been down to the Binghamton area, and he went into northern Pennsylvania, went over the line a little bit while he was down there, and he said on the one side of the line you got depressed upstate New York. On the other side of the line you've got booming hydrofracking, the gas industry and its
only in New York.
Ancillaries.
In New York, they ban things that they don't know what they're talking about. Just like our landfill.
Well, it looks like our landfill's really dead this time because they're putting one in Rotterdam, which went through with no trouble whatsoever, and they'll get all the money. Yeah. So now the market for ours is down the tubes.
Say, see, we told you it wouldn't.
Yeah, well, we told you it wouldn't work here. All right.
God,
There you go.
They had the mayor on one of the local radio stations last week, and they were talking to him, and they were kind of skeptical of some things that were going on up there, because Lawrenceville, like Amsterdam, has a large number of dilapidated homes,
right,
and a lot of empty homes, vacant homes. And he said, one of his goals is to, eradicate them from the community because it doesn't do anything for the tax base.
Right, and it is a cancer and it grows.
It is. And then he was asked a question, but I also understand that you're opposed to bringing in some development of low housing units by the state. Yeah, I am. Because that doesn't do anything for our tax base. It is money that we are not able to recoup for ourselves, but we have to expend because we need to provide services for those people who are going to be living in these low-income homes.
Exactly.
Therefore, it's a double negative. And it's not a positive for the community. Because what comes in there, you're getting people moving into the community who are not able to contribute to the tax base, but rather a drain on the tax base. And he says we're working very hard to have people come in and build homes that individuals will own, but we're not looking to have provide housing.
If they have that housing that comes in, I think they said it was 300 apartments.
I think that's what they're using.
They would have 300 empty apartments in the city. Empty
As a result.
And empty flats
Right.
as a result. And how many of them are going to make those houses deteriorate because there's nobody living in them? It's
Well, look at this ancient brick building on East Main Street that burned down a couple of nights ago. Four-unit apartment, one was occupied.
I have an apartment. I have a house that I rent out, two flats. When I first rented it out about 5 years ago, and I had it in the paper, there was almost a full page of apartments for rent.
Oh my God.
Maybe a half a page, but there was many because I said, I'll never rent this place. But I did because it was all completely remodeled. I've been watching the paper every other night for apartments that are for rent in Amsterdam, and there was 5 last night.
Yeah, that noise.
5 ads in the paper.
Really?
It was about 4 or 5 inches. And like I said, 5 years ago, the whole half the page was apartment. So this tells me, and the rents are no longer $400 and $500 a month. They're $550, $650, and $700.
That's right.
I said, my God. I said, it's a.
They have to be to pay the taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
And the county is paying a good chunk of each of those. The county or the Section 8.
We came by yesterday afternoon. Fire happened Wednesday night. All right, we came by
Yesterday was
4 o'clock, and they got the steam shovel in there, and it's all down. They're just picking up pieces.
I came through about 5 o'clock, and I noticed. I said, "What happened here?" I didn't know there was a fire.
Do you want this to go?
No.
The Amsterdam Housing Authority was created to take care of the crisis from the returning veterans from World War II. Okay? You know what? That crisis is long over. Long over. And the whole federal government bureaucracy, we get whole departments dealing with this. It's crazy.
If you look at the HUD-funded buildings, we got the Roosevelt, we got the Stratton, we've got the Garden Apartments,
And the high rise.
and the high rise, and we have the Holland Gardens and the Highland Gardens. That's a lot of property.
And Woodrow.
And Woodrow. I mean, that's a lot of housing in the city of Amsterdam that's being subsidized by the government.
Oh, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
Because just about everybody renting is getting some help from the county or the
I hate to say it, but one of my
or
one of
the
my
housing
tenants
authority.
is on HUD,
so
and I'm not happy about it.
we got to wean ourselves away from that. Nobody even talks about that. About doing that. What I would do is,
Yeah, but the next thing is-
now, like, for example, those garden apartments. Some of those families have been there for forever.
Yes.
Since it was built. I was like, anybody who's been there 20 years, you say it's yours. Now you pay taxes on it. You don't pay rent.
Exactly.
It's yours. We condo it. It's yours. You've been there 20 years. You've been paying rent 20 years. It's yours. And the others, either you wait or you
Start
privatize them now and
Start paying your own rent. Start paying your,
and just get the government out of
It's
it.
not the temporary housing that we were led to believe was going to be when they did it.
Right.
and now
When am I going to be able to do it again?
Now they're looking to subsidize a cultural center on the East End. When I saw that, I said,
and nobody knows what they will do with it. It was a
The
white
city-
elephant when the city got it, and it's a white elephant today.
But
Now
now
we're gonna
that
put some more money into feeding it.
Now, all these people, what were there? The 6 people in that picture that were on this tour? Oh, let's come up with some ideas.
when St. Mary's was in there, were they paying the city?
Apparently not. I talked to Bill Wills about that the other night. Nobody I know.
Nobody knew it belonged to the city.
Well, I knew it belonged to the city.
Well, yeah, so did I. But
Yeah.
did anybody know that?
St. Mary's took it off our hands 30 years ago because we were stuck with it. We put all that money into it to make a neighborhood center,
Yeah.
and then nobody wanted to be in it.
Well,
There was no the teen center collapsed or whatever.
Liberty was in there for a while. Then it went to St. Mary's. Now it's back to the city. And what are we going to do with it? The city is going to maintain it now. I don't think.
The city ought to put it on the market and get rid of it if they only get $1 for it,
Exactly.
because they're going to be stuck with it.
They're going to be stuck with it, and it's going to deteriorate.
And you're gonna have nothing
like the
for it.
building across the street. It's
Some of the things that are being said are so preposterous. I mean, I like the boosterism thing. I'm as booster of the town as anybody, believe it or not.
so am I.
There are a lot of nice things about Amsterdam, which I mentioned in my Billy McDermott pieces on my blog last week. But don't tell us what a nice, wonderful, clean, safe neighborhood that thing is in, because I've been down there and it
It
ain't.
isn't. And the minute the city goes in there and puts a cultural center in there with the teaching, everything's going to disappear.
We can have art classes, we can have this, we can have that. Okay. Who's gonna
Everything will disappear.
Yeah, that happened when my mother ran her learning center. See, we're repeating some of 2 weeks ago's episode, but nobody saw it. My mother ran the learning center in the East End down by Morris Street on East Main, the other end of the east end of East Main Street. They were burglarized all the time, and people were stealing equipment they couldn't do anything with. Specialized audio equipment that was only used to teach English as a second language and no other purpose.
And not only the inside of the building, they want to put a high-tech playground in the back.
Yeah. Well, I got to say the playground is. But the playground has been the city playground. That's always been the city playground.
Yes.
It's not like suddenly we get the playground with the building. It's been a city playground since the Roman Avenue, the Fourth Ward School was torn down in the 1930s, I think. Yeah.
Well, what about the one that's supposed to be next to the JR's Lounge? It's been 2 years. Bye, Mary.
So there you go. Okay. Keep up the good work.
Sure.
All right. So anyway, get rid of it.
Yes, definitely.
Now, leave those things. Get the city out of those business. Leave those things to agencies that are geared toward doing that. What are you going to do? Turn it over to the recreation department with the same 3 employees?
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Well, we'll have to put somebody down there and pay them to do what?
Yeah, they're going to put another line item in the budget to take care of the building.
Yeah.
I said, let's see if that goes over with the council.
Put it on the market immediately.
Wow.
Now,
That's right.
I think some of this has informally been made public, so I think I'm
But
free.
don't give it to Central Civico.
Well, they haven't used the buildings they've got.
I know. That's what I say. Don't give it to them because it'll be empty.
They've already got their center.
Yeah.
They've got their neighborhood center.
And they got the
It's a
building-
few blocks away.
And they got the building next door to them that they
Well,
haven't
they've got the
rehabbed yet.
avenues and the diners and
they
all
haven't used any
several
of
other
them.
buildings. Yeah. Anyway, as you know, I'm on the board of the Walter Elwood Museum, and we've been looking around for a new home, and I think
I didn't think of that.
we may have found one, and we're not, and it's not going to be there. We had a lot of criteria we're looking for. Historically significant is important. Adequate parking and outdoor facilities for our other things. Not in need of huge amounts of repair and that sort of. Anyway, we had a list of a whole mess of things that we were looking at, and we're very interested in purchasing the Noteworthy Complex on Church Street.
I was going to say that's. I was thought about
Took
that.
a tour of it last week, and it's magnificent. And it would include our running the Indian Museum as well. You got the Green Hill Cemetery right there.
Right there.
You can't ask for anything more historically significant. You got the oldest industrial buildings in Amsterdam, and what's more important, plenty of space for everything, internally and externally.
That'd be perfect.
Located right near City Hall. But lots of rooms, so you can have art classes and things like that that we could be done under the sponsorship of the museum, like we used to have when we had more room.
That'd be
Your
perfect.
neighbor Juliette Konieczny used to paint, be part of the painting class there, and she does nice work, by the way.
She does. She gave us a painting that she had made. It's a lighthouse. My wife was always talking about the coast, so she painted a lighthouse. Very nice, very nice.
So anyway, what we're looking at is at this point is trying to figure out a way to make it happen. But the land, the location, the building's available because Noteworthy's not using it anymore. Parts of it are rented out, so there'll be kind of a steady income.
I think that'd be a perfect building.
We love it. We love it. So and it's right in a visible major highway on top of everything else.
And if I had the money, I'd buy it for you.
We may call upon you because
I got a couple items in there.
we gotta work the deal, but it would require really no moving walls around or anything like that. I mean, there are rooms available that are just ideal for this, and plus. I got this I've got this huge vision for the place, because now you can really do an industrial history of Amsterdam and just go from room to room to room. And my thought is, we call up Mohawk Carpets and say, look, here's a room for you. You guys design it, put some stuff in there, and it'll be part of our museum. And same with Sanford. And I mean, it was the center of the Sanford complex. Stephen Sanford's office is in that building. Just great.
I got a couple items in there that I donated to the museum.
There you go. Like what?
I took a back porch off my house to repair it, and above the plate around that goes around the whole building up was a fly swatter, and it was. Well, that house was 1923, so I imagine that's when it was. It was made of a piece of door screen stapled to a stick that had an advertising on it. So I donated it to the museum. And then I also found, I was in a garage sale up in Fulton County somewheres, and I found the plates for printing for the newspaper.
Yeah.
For George H. Moss Company.
For what?
George H. Moss Company on Hamilton Street. You don't remember that? No.
On Hamilton? I don't even remember Hamilton Street.
Well, anyway, my wife used
That's
to work.
still there, isn't it?
My wife used to work there when she got out of high school, so that's why I picked them up and I donated them to the museum for local industry.
Nice.
Yeah. So, anyway, it's like 95,000 square feet. This building as compared to the 7 or 8,000 we had on Guy Park Avenue, and
That would be a fantastic place.
Wow.
Fantastic place.
Yeah.
It's high enough up in the city that it won't flood.
Well, I mean, it's along the creek, but the roof has been kept up. There's all brand new windows. The creek wall has been shored up in recent years, so you don't have to worry about the flood.
You got to repaint the wrought iron around the windows, though.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, it'd be a fantastic place.
Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're looking at. There's obviously all kinds of questions that need to be asked and answered, and we have to have a steady income flow that's going to guarantee that once we own the place that we can keep it, because the utilities are pretty going to have to rent out a lot of space, but if we do.
Who funds the museum in Schenectady?
Don't know.
Do Can you get state funding, federal funding?
Well,
for the museum?
there's funding. Yeah, there is funding available. The question is, can we tap into it in sufficient amounts in sufficient time
keep it going.
to do it? So anyway, but that looks like it's going to be our goal. At least we're seriously looking at it at this point.
Well, I bought a lotto ticket for tonight, so if I win, you got your money.
There you go. What's it up to now?
100 and
Two,
something.
no, 200 million.
Is that the mega or the Powerball?
The mega. The Powerball, I think, is only 60 million.
Oh, only 60 million.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
forget
buy- I
that.
don't-
I won't pay it for under 100.
I don't buy
Pay
a
for
ticket
under 100 million.
always, but I was in the store and I said, let me buy one of these. So
Yeah, you see where they had a judgment against a guy
I saw that.
down in New York.
And rightfully so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
What?
what a shyster.
What a shyster.
I-
It reminds me of when my friends Timmy and Danny Blanchfield were little. They were over at their grandparents' house, right? And grandmother Blanchfield gave them each a chocolate chip cookie. And comes back in the room a minute later, and Danny's crying because he says Timmy's got my cookie. And Tim is holding a chocolate chip cookie, and it says, the grandmother says, now Tim, is that Danny's cookie? He says, no, this one's Danny's.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent.
I ate Danny's. This is mine.
That's good.
That's
pretty good.
class.
They were probably 5 or 6 years old at the time. That's Reverend Tim Blanchfield.
That's great.
Oh my! There you go. Frederick Douglass, you're an educator, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this. This is, I think, Rochester, New York.
Right up the road from
Right up the road here.
Yeah.
This is Kevin Williamson, also at National Review Online. I got a lot of good stuff from them this week. Here is a sincere question. Why have the good people, this is an education thing, why have the good people of Rochester, New York failed to tar and feather school superintendent Bolgan Vargas as a prelude to running him out of town on a rail?
You were a school.
Well, you're a former superintendent.
Did they ever threaten you with that?
Well, they didn't have any rails.
Rails.
They didn't have any rails up there.
Check it out before I went, you know.
Mr. Vargas is fortunate enough to have in his charge one Jada Williams, a 13-year-old 8th grader who voluntarily took on some difficult extra work, reading Frederick Douglass's narrative of the life and writing an essay on the subject. 13 years old. I mean, Frederick Douglass is pretty serious reading. Heck of a writer,
He's
too.
pretty old now, isn't he?
Frederick Douglass, yeah, he'd be about 200 right now. Yeah. Frederick Douglass is dangerous reading, truly radical stuff. Miss Williams, like most of the students in her dysfunctional school, is black. Most of the people being paid to go through the motions of teaching them are white. Coming across the famous passage in which Douglass quotes the slave master Auld, Miss Williams was startled by the words, quote, "If you teach that nigger, speaking of myself, how to read, there will be no keeping him. It will forever unfit him to be a slave. He would at once become unmanageable and of no value to his master," unquote. Very famous and insightful quote by Frederick Douglass. The situation seemed to her familiar, and this is the kid. The situation seemed to her familiar, and her essay was a blistering indictment of the failures of the largely white faculty of her school. Quote, "When I find myself sitting in a crowded classroom where no real instruction is taking place, I can say history does repeat itself," unquote.
Wow.
Now, let me tell you, if I was a teacher and the student came in with that, I'd say,
Something is wrong.
I'd say, first of all, this is one brilliant student, brilliant, insightful student, and I'm taken aback and say, you know what, I need to do more to teach this kid, right? However, in Rochester, Her teacher was so offended by the essay that she circulated copies of it to the rest of the faculty and to the principal. Miss Williams, an A student, suddenly began to receive D's. According to accounts, her mother received harassing telephone calls from teachers who suggested that she was in some way disturbed rather than merely observant. She was forced eventually to withdraw from the school and enroll in an even worse one. The best Mr. Vargas could say was this, quote, "We could have responded better. This is a situation that was definitely not handled the best way," unquote, to say the least. Teachers refused to show Miss Williams' mother the schoolwork she had allegedly formed poorly on, and they refused to answer many of her questions about her daughter's performance and alleged behavioral problems. The teachers also failed to enter Miss Williams' essay in the contest for which it was written, intentionally sabotaging her chances at an academic honor. Miss Williams received an award from the Frederick Douglass Society of New York and had the chance to tell her story on the Glenn Beck television program. But most students in her situation will never have such an opportunity. As Douglass observed, quote, "Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have the exact measure of the injustice and wrong which will be imposed on them," unquote. How about it, Rochester? How much of this are you willing to quietly submit to? Isn't that great?
Isn't that something?
You ever read Douglas's letter to his master?
No.
It is fantastic. He wrote it when he was free man in the North, and it is to the point without being obnoxious. But you know, I am a man, not a slave, and all this stuff, and you know what you did, what you did to my mother, and this, blah 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 blah. The postscript to that, look it up because I think it's called "Letter to My Master" by Frederick Douglass. The postscript is in the end. He, after the Civil War, he went back and met with him, his master, and they actually became fairly close after that. Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a guy who proved the equality of the races by his. I mean, he was one of the leading men of the 19th century, and absolutely brilliant. I don't even know how he learned to read and write, in secret, I guess. Well.
Now, speaking of history, there was an article in the paper this morning that 3 MCM high school students were recognized for achievement. They created a video in response to a competition that C-SPAN was running, and they chose, and had to relate something to the Constitution, and they chose to write on the 19th Amendment. And
oddly enough, there were 3 female students.
Yes, they were.
Yes,
they were. And they got an honorable mention out of, there were 125 that were recognized out of 19,000 or 1,900 submissions, which is
excellent. Excellent.
Great. But there was one thing that bothered me in reading the article, and they interviewed a number of people and they created their video. They went to Northville to talk to an individual in charge of the Women's Voter League, I believe. And she was very critical of the notion of voter ID. And she was saying that it was a deterrent for old people and young people to vote if they had to produce some sort of ID in order to vote, simply based upon the fact that there may be some people voting illegally in this country because there's no way to track who really is who, because there's no need to identify yourself. And I think as times have gone on, I think that is a critical issue.
Yeah,
that one man, one vote truly does exist, and in many places, particularly the Soviet Union, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, I mean, your story,
prime example.
yeah, but your story, how there was stuff in the ballot boxes when you were there, was repeated again last week
Yes,
with
and they
people.
showed-
I mean, it was it was so obvious that even Jimmy Carter would have noticed it. I think, had he been there.
He may have noticed it. But in a lot of areas in this country, that is a major problem. I won't say we have
Now,
a great deal of voter fraud taking
You know,
place in Amsterdam.
the
but many
Supreme
places-
Court has already ruled on this issue, and they said voter IDs are perfectly legitimate, and the very nature, it's such an obvious thing that the only reason you wouldn't want them is so you can have voter fraud. That it's ridiculous. They couldn't point the opponents of it couldn't point to a single instance where anyone had been denied the right to vote as a result of this.
And Troy would have been a perfect example.
Anybody who was entitled to
That's
vote.
right.
Troy would have been a perfect example.
One of Breitbart's Andrew boys went up to Vermont recently and was able to register to vote a series of dead people at different precincts, just going in. I think on election day and saying, "I'm the late Harry Truman. Okay, here's your ballot." He didn't say I'm the late, whatever.
I've been too obvious.
But it was so and there are all kinds of actual examples, particularly in Philadelphia and St. Louis, from the last presidential election that were so blatant, so bad. I mean, there was one district in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, where more people voted than were registered to vote in the district. And these things where you walk in on election day and register to vote, that's ridiculous.
In Troy, they had 100 indictments against the guy.
Yeah.
And they got a hung jury.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. It's a mistrial.
Everybody's related to somebody.
They declared a mistrial. I mean,
But it was apparently a very well done film that these young ladies did, and they showed
Yes.
all sorts of praise and commendations as well. She did
As you said many times, the kids who want to go in and learn, they're going to learn. And my experience with Amsterdam High School with 4 kids who wanted to learn was they had no trouble learning. And they got a good education there.
and the superintendent was on the radio this morning, and he just gave them a mention, but he went into detail about the sports guys.
I knew what you were gonna say.
I said, oh,
Yeah, they were recognized at the board meeting this week.
yeah, so that was, I saw the picture. I read the caption under the picture. But I don't know how extensive, because there wasn't that much about it in the paper about what they did. It was just that they made this film, the documentary about the 19th Amendment.
Yeah, they did. And they,
No detail. And
Let's see it.
the superintendent didn't go into detail today on the radio either.
You know what I always liked about the high school graduation ceremonies? I'm trying to think whether I had it. Yeah, I guess Louisa must have. Was the acknowledgement of the individual achievements of the kids at the graduation ceremony. It's a lovely tradition because a lot of them did things that you never, that didn't necessarily make the papers, but brought credit to themselves, the families, and the school. Really good stuff. Really good stuff.
yeah, we have a lot of good kids doing lots of good things.
About
Look
Wow.
what just walked in out of the rain.
It is our city historian, the wet Robert Manhattan.
Yes,
Yeah, we're on. Yeah, we're on. We're actually recording this week.
As you walk in.
Yeah. So
you're on camera.
I'll make room
right
for you
now.
if you want to join us. All right, put your order in and come on over. All right.
You try to.